Okay, so let me then bring my thing down here. And I have a hard stop in an hour, but I think an hour of Brahma Samhita is good. it's more than enough that we can ask for, right? It's a difficult,
It's a lot
topic.
to handle. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So an hour will be good. So, okay. So let's get going here. We'll start the session today with a short prayer first to the spiritual master, and then we'll get going from there. Okay. Om Ajnanatimarandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Welcome, dear devotees, to our class on Brahma Samhita, which we resumed last week, and we will continue on today. So let us see what we have over here. In bringing up Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, and the text should be text number 16, I think so. What do you think, Vachana Mataji? Which one should we do? You keep track of all that.
16, Mataji.
16, okay. Vachana Mataji says 16, so we're going to do 16. So last time we were talking about how Mahavishnu creates the universe from out of his body. All these universes emanate, and then how he expands and becomes Garbhodakshai Vishnu and Shirodakshai Vishnu in each, and enters each of these universes. And then as Shirodakshai Vishnu, actually he does even more, in the sense that he becomes the Paramatma also in our hearts, in addition to living in the Dhruva planet, right, the polar star. And then we were talking about how he goes about creating what is required for the maintenance of this universe. And for every universe, there are three controllers, or Ishwaras. Controller means Ishwar. And so there are three controllers, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. And we talked about how he created them from different sides of his body. And we read that Vishnu was created from the left side of his body, right? And Brahma was created from the right side of his body. And between his eyebrows was Shiva created from the Shambhu Tattva, right? And these three controllers, they control the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we had talked about the significance of the different sides of the body, and noticing that how Radharani, who is Krishna's transcendental chit potency, she's on the left side of Vishnu. And so Vishnu, left side of Krishna. So Vishnu, who is created from the left side of Krishna, is coming from the transcendental side, and he's transcendentally situated. So although we sometimes call him as a demigod, but he is, we use the word demigod in the sense that you are a controller, right? You're the manager. But that doesn't mean that just because you're managing something, you become that. For example, if you're a manager of a prison, and in a prison, all prisoners live, convicts, bad people live. But if you're managing the prison, doesn't mean that you are also a bad person, right? So similarly, Vishnu, he's managing the mode of goodness in this material world, doesn't mean that he is material also, right? So he's transcendental, coming from the left-hand side. And from the right-hand side of his body, which is usually associated with passion. So this is goodness, left-hand side. I don't know how Zoom is showing it for you. This is the left, so that is the left. So the left-hand side is Vishnu, the right-hand side is Brahma, and in between the space of his eyebrows is where Shiva comes, who handles the mode of ignorance. Shiva handles the mode of ignorance, but doesn't mean that he is ignorant. So we have to remember he's the best of the Vaishnavas, right? He's a great devotee of the Lord. And so, so you will notice that whenever there are spiritual activities that you're doing, the wife will sit on the left side of the husband. And when there is some, karm kandi kind of activities going on, then she will stay on the right-hand side of the husband, right? So it is also the left and right is very significant. And we had, there were two words that were used for left and right. Does anybody remember what were the two words that we used for left and right?
Vama is left, and Dakshina is right.
Dakshina is right. And why? What is the right? What was the reason that we gave why Dakshina is right? Because we say up north and down south, right here. So why is Dakshin called right? What was the reason we gave? Anybody remember the reason? So we had said that if you are facing towards the east, right, then Dakshin is on your right-hand side. Right? If you sit in the middle of the map of India and you start looking towards Assam or Bengal, then south of India is on your right-hand side, right? So Dakshina. And Bame is Bame Gadadhara, right? So we also talked about how in Gora Arti, the word Bame Dakine Nitai Chanda, right? We talked about that. So that is there. In fact, there's a very interesting thing when I was many decades ago. And so I was reading an article about how, and it had to do with software development and how when you are developing a piece of software, you have to be very careful about what the user wants, right? What the user wants, and you have to give him that. But sometimes what happens is that the user wants something and the creative people, which are the software developers, they interpret it in some way. And when the time comes to give the software to the user says, I did not want it. And then the software developer sits down and tries to justify why he created what he created, because it's very difficult to accept defeat, especially criticism of your own creation. And that is why you will see that parents don't like to listen to bad things about their children, or if somebody points out something wrong about their aankhon ka tara, then it's very difficult for them to digest that. Because there is false ego. They are part of my body. They are me and nobody else. So anyway, so they were talking about that. And in that context, they said that how important it is to understand what the user wants. And it was a company, not an Indian company, but it was some other company in the Far East, I would say, or I would think, I don't know. But the main thing was that that company was given an order for, I think, a big amount, it ran into, lakhs. And so they were supposed to make deities of Ganesha.
Oh.
The deity of Ganesha. So they made deity of Ganesha and they shipped it. And when the shipment arrived in India and the quality person opened the shipment, he saw the whole shipment was rejected. And what was the reason for that? That Ganesha's
nose
trunk,
was on the
right, was on the other side, right? Yeah. They wanted it this side, it was on the other side. So right versus left. So what was so important about right and left? Now, when you want to pray to Ganesha, so you see there is mention of Ganesha will come in Brahma Samhita also further on. And so when mention of Ganesha comes further on in Brahma Samhita, he's glorifying Krishna and he's saying that Brahma attains his powers to remove obstacles from his life because, on his head, he holds your lotus feet. So we always go to Ganesha because obstacles are difficult to handle. And even we have Ganeshas, even in ISKCON, we pray to Ganesha, but we have to understand there is a subtle difference. A devotee prays to Ganesha to remove obstacles in his devotional service. And that Ganesha that you are praying to has his trunk facing tilted towards the left. And if you are praying to Ganesha to remove obstacles from your material life, right, all your competitors should just die, right? Then that Ganesha, his trunk is facing towards the right hand side, right? So there's a right and a left concept there. So you have to understand those things as well, right? So that is what we read there. And then we will continue on today with the next verse and see what does the next verse tell us, right? So let me start to share my screen here with you. And as soon as as you see something like looks like Veda based, then let me know. Can somebody see that?
Not yet, Mataji.
Yeah.
Now we can.
Yeah, now.
Now you can see? Okay, very good. Okay. So I'd like to welcome Neelam Mataji and Vidyavadu Mataji who are watching us on Facebook also. Before you go here, please accept my humble obeisances. And here we are. So now we talked about the three creations, right? Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, and or Shambhu. So he's created. And now in chapter number 6, in text number 16, we are going to go further and focusing first on Shambhu. Now, this is the thing about Brahma Samhita. Some of the verses are long, they will run into 8 lines, and some of the verses are short, they might be 2, and then some could be even 1 line. Shloka. So today we have got Ahankaratmakam Vishwam Tasmat Etam Vyajayata. Ahankara means the mundane egotistic principle. Atmakam, enshrining. Vishwam, universe. Tasmat, from that. Shambhu, from that means from Shambhu. Etat, this. Vyajayata, has originated, right? Is created or originated. Janma Jayata, like that. So, not many words here for us to go over scrutinizingly, but the translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai is the function of Shambhu in relation to jivas is that this universe enshrining the mundane egotistic principle has originated from Shambhu, right? So this universe that you see inside, and how has it originated from Shambhu? You remember we had read many verses ago that Krishna does not dally with his potency, right? Krishna does not dally with Maya. What Krishna does is that he just casts a glance on Radharani, who further gives it over to Maya, and that glance is Shambhu. And through that glance, he transfers all the jiva souls that are there in his abdomen. They were there in his abdomen since the last cataclysm, since the last pralaya, when the whole universe was destroyed. They go there into his abdomen. And now at the time of creation again, he casts his glance. That glance is Shambhu. And then all the jiva souls are transferred into the material nature, Prakriti, like that, right? So now you have got Prakriti, which is, elements, Kham, Mano, Buddhir, Evacha, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, all that is there, right? And the jiva souls are there. Now you have to somebody has to take each of these individual jiva souls and give them a body. And how do you give them a body? You take these material elements, 8 material elements, and you combine them in various proportions and put a jiva soul inside it and then let it loose in this material world, right? So that is creation of the second order. The first order is what Krishna is doing right now, right? Through that glance. So then here he's saying the function of Shambhu in relation to the jivas, right? What is Shambhu's function related to us, the jivas? Is that this universe enshrining the mundane egotistic principle has originated from Shambhu. So this universe originates from Shiva. or Shambhu, right? Put by Bhaktivedanta Swami Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, and the translation was also by him. Sorry about that. The basic principle is the Supreme Lord Himself. So, basic principle, and we should never forget that. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam. Right? So, aham sarvasya prabhavo, right? Yeah, Varshana Mataji, that's your favorite. Complete that.
Aham
Buddha,
sarvasya prabho mata sarvam parvatite iti matta bhajante mam buddha bhav samanvata.
Buddha bhav, not Buddha, Buddha bhav samanditaha,
Buddha.
right? So that that the intelligence understand that Krishna is the source of everything. So the basic principle is the Supreme Lord Himself, who is the embodiment of the principle of existence of all entities, devoid of separating egotism. So from the Supreme Lord, right, what He embodies is that all living entities are His parts and parcel. So there is no separating egotism. When the soul understands that I am a part and parcel of Krishna. Mame vansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. So when the souls understand that, then that is happening because of the Supreme Lord. Only Supreme Lord can make it happen for us, right? Bhakti is not something that we can do by ourselves and force it by ourselves. We can only go through the motions of it and then wait for the mercy of Krishna to act on us. Right? So that is how it is in the material world. That is how Krishna has created the living entities. However, in this mundane world, in this material world, what happens? So in this mundane world, which is material world, where you and I are right now, in this mundane world, the appearance of individual entities, which means you and I are all souls, as separated egotistic symbols, is the limited, perverted reflection of the unalloyed spiritual chit potency, and as representing the primal masculine divine generating function Shambhu, it is united to the accommodating principle, with the mundane female organ, which is perverted reflection of the spiritual chit potency Rama-devi. Okay, so this is again connecting the process of creation, right? So we know how creation happens in this material world, right? There is the male that has to unite with the accommodating female, right? Because why? The male is going to give the sperm and the female has to accommodate that sperm in the womb, right? So that is the accommodating principle, right? So, and in the previous verses, we saw that the glance, right? Krishna's glance is Shambhu, and for the purposes of creating this material world. And that's why they are saying that in this material world, the appearance of individual entities as separated egotistic symbols. Now, here in this material world, so the spiritual world, when Krishna had created that, so we are parts and parcels of Krishna. There's no separation between us and Krishna. We understand that, and we had talked last time about a dovetail joint, right? So we are dovetailed in the service of Krishna. But in this material world, we have a separated mentality. We think ourselves to be separated from Krishna. We want to enjoy separate from Krishna. We want to control separate from Krishna. So that is the separated egotistic principle that is there here in us, right? So again, in this mundane world, the appearance of individual entities as separated egotistic symbol is the limited perfected relation of the unalloyed spiritual chit potency. So, right, we know that this material world is a perverted reflection, right? We saw that and we read that in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that where it says that urdhva moolam adha shakam. So urdhva moolam adha shakam is there's a tree which has got roots on the top and it has got branches in the bottom, which is like opposite of a natural tree. So similarly, so what they are trying to portray over here is not that this material world is like a tree. and which has got roots on the top and branches in the bottom. It's not that it's a banyan tree, that the universe is shaped like a banyan tree, right? It's just that they are trying to explain that whatever happens in the spiritual world, the opposite happens over here. For example, in the material world, everybody is allied with Krishna. In the spiritual world, in the material world, people are not allied with Krishna. It takes a lot of effort on our sides to go and reach that level of being allied with Krishna. So it's a reflection. Whatever is there is here also, but it's perverted, right? So it is spoiled reflection, not a clean and straightforward direct reflection of whatever is there in the spiritual world. It's perverted and opposite, right? So no yawning is individual as separated egotistic principle is the limited perverted reflection of the unalloyed spiritual chit potency. So unalloyed spiritual chit potency, it's a perverted reflection of the unalloyed. Alloying means, what is an alloy? In the material sciences or the metal sciences, we know that when you take one element and you mix it with one metal and you mix it with another metal, you get what is known as an alloy, right? For example, you take copper and zinc and you get brass, like that, right? So whenever a metal is alloyed, it means it is not pure, because there is a mix there. There is copper and then there is zinc in brass. So it's not a pure element in itself. But here, what they're saying, they're talking about unalloyed spiritual chit potency, which means it's pure. So when we use the term unalloyed, we are talking about purity. So there's completely pure. And then, so what they're saying is that this mundane world that you see is actually a perverted reflection of something which is very pure. It is a perfect perverted reflection, which means it's not pure here, right? So there in the spiritual world, our understanding of who am I is that I am a servant of Krishna. But in this material world, who am I? I am the supreme enjoyer. I am the controller of everything. And I want to do that. And all my actions are based on that. I'm trying to do that very, very hard, all the time, trying to enjoy, trying to control. Those are the two things that we do all the time, right? So here these verses are saying that this material world, right, where these individual entities appear, how they appear and how they behave is exactly opposite of how, they would behave there in the spiritual world, right? And here it is saying that this represents the masculine divine generative function Shambhu, right? So how this appearance is happening, how this world is being created through Shambhu, which is the glands, right? And the mundane female organ, which is perverted reflection of the spiritual chit potency Rama-devi. Again, perverted reflection of spiritual chit potency Rama-devi will be Durga-devi over here, right? In the material world, as you see. So at this function, Shambhu is nothing but the mere material causal principle, embodying the extension in the shape of ingredient as matter. Again, when in the course of the progressive evolution of mundane creation, each universe is manifested, then in the principle of Shambhu, born of the space between the two eyebrows of Vishnu, there appears the manifestation of the personality of Rudra. Yet under all circumstances, Shambhu fully enshrines the mundane egotistic principle, right? So now we know the glance, Krishna throws the glance at Radha, Radha punts it to Durga Devi, and this material world is now going to be created from that combination. The jivas are put into material matter, right? And now they're saying that Shambhu, right? Shambhu who is created between the two eyebrows of Krishna, right? And he's here when Shambhu appears between the two eyebrows of Krishna, he's also known as Rudra, right? So Rudra is one manifestation. So here what they're saying is that although he comes from between the two eyebrows, right? This Rudra that appears from between the two eyebrows of Krishna, so this Rudra is just an expansion of Shambhu, expansion of that glance that he has had put that glands can also expand. So it's very difficult for us to understand in this material world because we don't do such things, right? You don't do such things. But so imagine when an expansion has to come, it needs, if somebody has to appear in your life, it has to come through some doorway, right? If somebody has to come into your house, there has to be some door, left door, front door, back door, like that, right? So similarly, imagine that, this is also a door from which Shambhu is going to come out, or Rudra is going to come out from Vishnu's body, right? So here, so he's saying that Shambhu or that Rudra that comes out here, he fully enshrines the mundane egotistic principle. So now there is the spiritual ego, and then there is the mundane egotistic principle. So the mundane egotistic principle is the ego of this material world. And the ego in this material world as compared to the ego of the spiritual world, right? So in the spiritual world, we all say that we are the servants of Krishna. We understand that and we behave in that way. In the material world, our ego is, I am this body. Okay, I am this body. That is the mundane egotistic principle. Right? I am this material body. And so that falls in, that's why we call that as the false ego, because that is wrong. You are not the body. You are actually the soul, and you are a servant of Krishna, and that is the original understanding in the spiritual world. But here in the mundane world, right, this thing that I am this body, which we call as the false ego, that how that is happening via the vehicle of Shambhu, who controls that, all that part of it. The innumerable jivas as spiritual particles emanating from the oversoul in the forms of pencils of rays of effulgence have no relation with the mundane world when they come to know themselves to be the eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. Okay? So the innumerable jivas, you and I and the animals, and the fishes and the plants and aquatics and all that, right? These innumerable jivas, they are spiritual particles. They emanate from the oversoul, right? The oversoul word is used for Krishna, right? The bigger soul. We are smaller souls and he's the bigger soul by way of power, right? So oversoul in the form of pencils of rays of effulgence. So the soul is effulgent, right? So we are like, effulgence coming out of Krishna, or little sparks that come out from the big fire. So that's the light. And we are pencil rays, smaller rays from the Lord. So us, the jivas, have no relationship with the mundane world. So they have no relationship with this world that is there. And when will I know that? When will I know that I have no relationship with this mundane world? When they come to know themselves to be the eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. So when you come to know Ekala Krishna Sarva Bhatya, right? Sutapa might know that I just demolished the Bengali there. But that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described, that Ekala Krishna. Krishna is the only master, and everybody else is a Britya, everybody else is a servant, right? So when I understand that part and give up my endeavors to enjoy in this material world by doing this and that, little adjustment here, little adjustment that, when I give up all that and I realize my real constitutional position, right? Then I will automatically give up my relationship with the mundane world, right? However, but when they desire to lord it over Maya, forgetting their real identity of being a servant of the Lord, the egotistic principle, Shambhu, entering into their entities, makes them identify themselves as separated enjoyers of mundane entities. So when you desire not to serve the Lord, but when you desire to lord it over this material nature, forgetting your real identity that I am a servant of the Lord, then this egotistic principle, this false ego that you are this body, right, will make you identify that I am this body and I am separate from Krishna. My job is to enjoy this material nature using my body. Hence, Shambhu is the primary principle of the egotistic mundane universe and of perverted egotism in jivas that identifies itself with their limited material bodies, right? So Shambhu, in this material world that is, expanding from between the eyebrows of Vishnu, and who's also known as Shiva, the controller of the mode of ignorance in this material world, right? That's the biggest ignorance, to think that you're the body, right? So that happens through the media of Shambhu, where we think that we are this material world. So this words in itself is basically talking about the false ego. And who controls the false ego? Shambhu or Shiva. And in the previous verse, we saw from where Shambhu emanates, right? Bame or Dakshina, or in between the eyebrow, right? So we talked about those two things. And I see that Varshana Mataji has raised her hand. So let's see what you have.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, I'm a little confused here that Shambhu is, what is, first of all, what is this pencil rays of effulgence?
Pencil means small, like thin, like a pencil. That is the jiva soul. So soul is, remember we talked about soul is amazing. Soul is shiny in nature. It's a spark, yeah. So it's a, they're talking about the soul as a ray of effulgence, like that.
Okay. So Mataji, that means the material thought of that we are of our false ego. So, Shambhu doesn't help us to get out of it. Rather, he stays there with us. I mean, he puts us in that condition.
He will facilitate that. So through Shambhu that controls the fact that you are this body, he will facilitate that. Remember, we are little jiva souls who have got independence, right? We are independent. So Krishna will not force anything on you. We wanted to enjoy independent of Krishna on the spiritual planets. And that is why this whole material planet has been created for us, for the purpose of enjoyment only. So that we learn what happens when we try to enjoy independent of Krishna. So this jiva soul is given a body, and through the medium of false ego, which we are reading here, that principle is Shambhu, through that false ego, you are made to think that I am this body. And because you are thinking that you are this body, that is why you're enjoying it, right? If you don't think that you are the body, there won't be any enjoyment. I will give you an example. You think that you are this body, right? So if I open your mouth and I put a little ice cream inside it, you will enjoy it, right? Now, you're sitting in a dining table and I say, open your mouth, wish, and I have some prasadam for you. You open your mouth, I put it in, you enjoy it. Right? Why are you enjoying it? You're a soul, right? Now, however, if I take 2 big scoops of ice cream and I put it on the table cover, will you enjoy it?
No.
No. Why? Because you are not the table cover. You know that. You're not identifying itself, right? So because you identify that you are the body, that is why you are, enjoying it. So to enjoy something, that identification has to be there. And which is to enjoy something material, that false identification has got to be there, that you have to, that which will make you enjoy something which is material. If it is spiritual, right, If you are on a spiritual level and you're engaging in devotional service, you don't even feel hungry, right? Parikshit Maharaj sat there for 7 days and 7 nights without eating, without drinking anything. Why was that happening? And there was enjoyment, and we enjoy it, right? Why? Because you are operating on a different level. For brief, time when you are engaged in devotional service, you are transcendentally situated, so that for a brief moment, that identification has gone with the body, and so you are enjoying a superior taste. But as long as the desire is there in this, the jiva has the desire to enjoy this material world, Krishna inside his heart, as the Upadrishta Anumanta, as the overseer and the permission giver, will give you permission to enjoy. And Shambhu has already arranged that for you, to give you a body that you think is yours and you enjoy, right? You enjoy through everything that you think they are you. And we had talked about false ego, which said that I am this body. And we had also talked about the extended false ego, which talks about your extended body. And that is why if Pune cricket team wins the cricket match, then Shraddha-devi Dasi will be happy. Why? You did not play. Why are you happy? Because that false ego extends, that I am there, my children are there, my society is there, my city is there, right? And if Uttar Pradesh, wins, then you're angry. Why are you angry? You don't even play cricket. This is not just you, this is all of us. All of us go through this. Mostly you go here, which baseball team are you rooting for? I'm rooting for this. And there will be discussions on these topics. They start months before the match. People are analyzing it. And months after the match, they will be analyzing about the flick of the ball and the twist of the wrist and all that. People are taking so much of interest because of false ego. And the false ego will make us tied to this material world with the idea that you will suffer. And only suffering will make us want to go back to Godhead and leave. So once in a while, as Vaisheshika Prabhu was saying in the morning, once in a while, Maya will send you reminders. Look at this. Do you like it? No. Okay. Go pray to the Lord. Like that. So did I answer your question, Vaisheshika?
Yes, Mataji. And
Actually, I think
I felt that you see, body is required, whether it is we have to do spiritual deeds, we have to be spiritually elevated. Body is required for that also, and body is required for the material enjoyment also. So we have to decide that where and how to use our body uh, 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 to get
yes.
elevated and to go to Krishna.
Yes, and that choice is yours. And Krishna will never interfere with that choice. Till you go to Krishna and you say that I surrender. Like Arjuna said, Shishyasteham Shadi Mam Tvam Prapannam in 2.7 Bhagavad Gita, right? He says, Shishyasteham, I am your student, I am a soul surrendered unto you. Please tell me what to do. And Krishna tells him for 18 chapters, 17 chapters, he tells him that. But still in the end, Krishna says, now you do whatever you want to do.
You do what you want.
Krishna will never interfere with your free will.
Thank you, Mother.
Right? You're welcome. Sukomal Radhe Mataji.
Hare Krishna. When you were talking about in the material, when Vishnu, Lakshmi is sitting on the right side of Vishnu, it's the material platform. I was reminded that in the Western culture also, when they have these official dinners and there's a long table and the host is sitting at the head of the table and his wife is always on the right of him, sitting on the first seat to the right. So it's like, I was just reminded of that.
It's a mundane gathering, exactly.
Yeah, it's
so now that you know,
gathering. So, yeah. That's
very nice observation. And you know, one of the ways that they say that you should remember Krishna 24/7. How do I remember Krishna 24/7? Right? These are the ways in which you will remember. Next time you go to a mundane gathering and you see somebody sitting on the right hand side, the lady, you will say, aha, in Brahma Samhita, such and such a verse, they said, Radharani said, this is how. This is Krishna consciousness. That throughout your 24/7, you are conscious of Krishna. Every time. When you're getting angry at somebody, you will realize this is Rudra. That principle is acting on the body, and because I'm identifying with this body, I'm suffering because of that. Otherwise, how does it matter, right? The table cover on Varshana's table, if it is wrinkled or not wrinkled, should not hurt me.
Yeah.
Right? But the problem is that I do get hurt when the table is wrinkled. Why? Because I think it is my table cover.
Yeah.
And it should be proper. You see how the false ego can extend to other objects also. So this is how it extends.
But Mataji, I just, oh, sorry. Go.
Yeah, you have to raise your hands to put me on a queue. Otherwise, I might not see all of you on the panel on the top. I just see 5 pictures here.
No, Mataji, it's a continuation of what you just told.
Okay, go ahead.
So Mataji, but the table cover is ours. Like, so why we cannot think that it is ours? Like,
why you cannot think? Because it belongs to Krishna. Everything is given to Krishna. The day the thieves come and take away your table cover, we start feeling bad because it was mine, right? A person who thinks it was Krishna might just say, Krishna just adjusted it. Krishna gave it to me to use for some time, and then he took it away for some time to give it to the thief, who's now going to sell it in the market, and somebody else is going to use it, right? I mean, one fine day, the realization came to my mind. I'm living in this condo. And so this was, not a new one. And so a Japanese family used to live here before. And there's a little closet, like a towel closet here, and which I use it for putting the towels. But for the first 4 or 5 years, I had a lot of difficulty putting my towels there. And the reason was that the prior occupier used that nice, it's a thin closet like that with shelves on it. He used to use that to store Japanese herbs. And the Japanese herbs were very fragrant and they were pungent also. So they had left their smell behind. And no matter how much you painted it, washed it, whatever, the paint would not go, right? So one day I was just thinking that, like I live in this bedroom. This is my bedroom. This is my reading room. This is my kitchen and all that. And I was just thinking that 10 years ago, somebody else was standing in this kitchen and was cooking something. Somebody else was sleeping in this bedroom. And then the thought came that could be that 10 years hence, somebody else will be doing the same thing in what I think is my house. And then that thought came that even this house for which we painfully pay the installments for the loan, right? Even this house is not mine. Even the day you finish off all the money that you have to pay and the title is in your name, given to you by the mundane world, there can be an earthquake and you'll be out of this house. Krishna's will, right? So Tapa, we operate at 2 levels, right? One level, and how you look at things is with a tinge of detachment, in the sense that these are things, accept everything as a gift of the Lord, a temporary gift of the Lord given to you for a temporary period of time. That temporary period of time could be less than your lifespan. Things can be taken away from you before we give up this body, right? Think of all of these. So that's one way. That is Krishna's will that I have it. Krishna has given it to me as a gift. It can be taken away anytime. And the second way is, now that Krishna has given me a gift, I should take care of the gift. And that is why you will iron your table cover, right? You'll iron your table cover. The problem comes when somebody's table cover is better than mine. That is where the problem comes. But as long as you think that, these are all gifts that Krishna has given to different people according to what I deserve. Everything that you get here is according to what you deserve. Then the problems of life go away when we bring our consciousness to that level. Okay? Is the material body required? Yes, very much. As Varshana Mataji had concluded, that you do need this body. You do need this body and to perform certain actions. And while you are in that body, you have to act. Number one, you'll be forced to act according to that body. For example, there's a famous story of Indra, right? What Indra one day was talking to Brahma about all these concepts, and Brahma said, okay, now I'll tell you what false ego means. And so he put Indra in the body of a pig. And Indra was there with the body of a pig. He married a piggy, and they had 12 little pigs, and he was wallowing in the dirt. He was eating the dirt. 12 years passed by. And then Brahma said, Indra, come back. He said, no, I have such a good life. I have a little wife, Mrs. Pig. I have got these beautiful children. I don't want to leave. So this is what it happens, that there are two things that this material world does to you. There are two potencies of Maya. One is the throwing potency. It will throw you into a particular body. Whether it is lion, whether it's a reptile, a snake, a human body, a duck, a puppy, a giraffe, zebra, could be anything, depending on your karmas. You get thrown into a body. And the second one is avanatmika. Avanatmika, it covers it. It'll cover your eyes. And covering your eyes means that you will forget who you are and you'll think you are this body. So in the body of a lizard, you think you are the most beautiful lizard. And you think that you are the doer. There's a very nice story about Mr. and Mrs. Lizard. And those of you who are from India know that, we share our houses with lizards also, right? They will come and live wherever they want to live, in whichever room they want to live, they live. And so there were these two lizards which were, were on the ceiling. So lizards have got special feet, right? That they have got some web-like structure there, and they have got, vacuum things, and they get stuck. There's a little vacuum that's created, and they are stuck like that on the ceiling. And so they were all there on the ceiling for 2 years. They are there in the ceiling, and then the missus, says, "Come on," and they say, "The lizard thinks that this is my house, and you think that this is your house." And the cockroaches think that it is their house, and the mouse thinks that it is their house. So, false ego. And so these Mr. and Mrs. Lizard were up there, and then Mrs. Lizard says that, "Dear, all the time we have been in just this room. And let's go to the other one. I want a little excursion," her wife will say. And the husband says, "What? We can't leave. I'm holding the ceiling." Ahankara vimulatma kartaham iti manyate. Right? So this is how the curtain potency will, fall on you, and you think that this is what you know. So false ego.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. So is false ego required? Comes the question. Is it required? It is. It is required because now that you are in this prison, you have to identify yourself with this body to a certain extent, and then do the things which are required to be done. Now, there are two things that you can do with this body. You can use this body to enjoy, or you can also use this body in the service of Krishna. And to that extent, that much of a false ego is definitely required. And to answer the question that, does Shambhu not help you? Shambhu will help you. He's a devotee of the Lord. He will help you. And the help is coming from this side of your action cycle, where you are identifying with the body, but you're using this. So the false ego is still there, but you're using this body in the service of Krishna, because slowly the real ego is awakening in you. And as the real ego awakens, you will know that you're not this body. But that doesn't mean, knowing that you are the soul and not the body doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want to do. For example, you cannot go and kill somebody and say, Prabhupada said, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The soul is never killed, even if you kill the body. No, you will be thrown into a jail. Not only this jail, it will also be counted against you by Chitragupta, who's handling all your things that you do. So there are certain rules and you have to follow those rules, right? So this, but the false ego principle, which makes you think that you are this body, is there. So Shambhu is there doing that. Now it's entirely up to you. Your free will is there. That what do I want to use this body for? This part I want to use for this part. And you will need that identification. And once you are identified with the body, you also have to act according to that body, which means that if you're in a human body, you're not supposed to go naked on streets and say, oh, the dog is in the body, material body. It's a soul in a material body. It's going naked. Why am I not allowed to do that? No. There are rules and regulations, Mundane Samhita. There are rules and regulations laid down for human bodies, and you are supposed to do certain things in a certain way. And there's such a nice example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once heard a voice. You know how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to go crazy when anybody heard the names of the Lord, because he's Radha and Krishna combined. So Radha represents bhakti. So whenever you hear anything, to do with bhakti, your heart also starts to feel good, right? That's why, when we tune in to Krishna Katha and somebody is singing a song, we love it. Why are you enjoying it? Because there's an element of bhakti in you, and there is bhakti in that person singing as well. So there's resonance happening there. So he used to go crazy by seeing the deities of the Lord, by hearing somebody take the names of the Lord, things like that. So he was 100% Krishna conscious. When he hears somebody sing the Geet Govinda, he's very, very, he goes crazy and starts to run in the direction of where that person is singing the song, because he wanted to embrace that person. And then his supporters, the people who were around him, they stopped him and they said, Mahaprabhu, that is a lady who's singing the song. And you are a sannyasi, you're not supposed to embrace a lady. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Supreme Personality of Godhead, he stopped. Why did he stop? Because he has to follow the rules. He was demonstrating that you have to follow the rules of the body in which you are there. So the type of body that you have and the ashram that you are in sannyasa, you don't touch ladies, so he didn't touch ladies. So he was being an acharya and demonstrating through examples on how you have to behave in this body itself, right? So things to keep in mind like that. Any other last question or reflection? We have a couple of minutes. Simi, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, we said that Radharani is on the right hand side, but isn't she on the left hand side?
No, Radharani is on the left hand side.
Oh, it is on the left side. Like we are saying, like
no, not the wife. Not the Radharani. We were talking about the wife. Sometimes the wife is on the left, sometimes the wife is on the right when you're doing yajna. So it depends on what type of yajna are you doing. If you're doing a yajna, transcendental yajna, wife will go on the left hand side. If you're doing a karmic yajna, for the betterment of the household, for the promotion of the husband, you can do yajnas for that also. Then the wife sits on the right hand side, because it's a passionate thing. Passion. You try to do that. And that's what Sukumal Radhe Mataji was saying, that when there is a large dining table, the head stays here, and then on the right hand side is the wife, because it's a mundane activity. They're not doing anything spiritual.
Oh, okay. And in spiritual, it will be on the left hand side.
Left, because Radharani is on the left. So if you ever want to remember, just remember the deities in the temple. Just see Radharani, and that's it. That side is the transcendental side.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Any other last questions, or is too heavy a dose of Brahma Samhita? It's heavy, it's difficult, but the concepts, Brahma Samhita clears our concepts. It's not an easy read. You have to read and reread and reread and understand it that way.
So Shraddha Mataji, for now, until you let us know, Monday's classes are cancelled for the time
I
being.
cancel. Yes, yes. I
Okay.
will try to do a Tuesdays, but sometimes Tuesdays become bad, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I might be able to do a Tuesday and Saturdays.
Okay.
Saturdays, I'm hoping I'll be able to do Saturdays, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Tuesdays and Saturdays, consider them as that. But other days are becoming very, very difficult.
Okay.
For
Yeah.
me these days.
Just
Yes, I settle down and they might hire somebody and give some of my work to somebody else. So, that way I'll get a little bit of a breather.
Okay.
And for me also, learning gets a learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So Tuesday, 10 o'clock?
Yes, 10
Your
o'clock
time?
your time, but she will text us. She will
No,
text.
7
I
o'clock
will
your
text
time.
you. Yeah,
7
yeah.
o'clock.
Right. So on those days, just watch out around 5 o'clock, 6
Okay.
o'clock. Just watch out for a message from me, because my work as it goes is that I'm sitting here and on my laptop like this, and I don't even have time to glance at my cell phone to see what others are texting and things like that. It's only at a logical break I'll go and look at the 64 messages that have landed there. So it is. Yeah, it requires a lot of focus and attention.
Yeah.
And Mataji, the Saturday night, 6:30 is permanent, or it will be like some days?
I don't know. Yeah, today I had to
Oh,
sleep.
okay.
Yesterday there was a software release, and releases make you have to be on the tip of your toe, and I really needed to sleep and catch up with some sleep there. So that's why I said 6:30. Let's just do it at 6:30. Yeah,
Okay.
I would prefer 6. I prefer 6 because I know it becomes later in the night for you also, Sapata. I prefer to do a 6 o'clock.
But we're still
like
on
that.
Sunday, Mataji?
Yes, Sunday we are on. At least for now we are on. So what has also happened is that I have meetings with Vaisheshika Prabhu and Vaisheshika Prabhu. Used to have meetings with me on Sundays for the other services that I do for ISV and for him. So now he has to come to the temple, and my meetings were at exactly the same time that he now comes to the temple. So he said that he wants to move the meetings around. Now, I don't know at this point how he's going to move the meetings, right? It could happen that he might say, meet me at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning. Then I will have to, readjust and see how we can handle that. But till such time as that happens, we'll continue to have our Sunday morning Pacific Standard Time Srimad Bhagavad Gita recitation classes. We'll leave it to Krishna, whatever is his will, we can plan. Krishna will replan, we can schedule, and Krishna will reschedule. So, like that.
Ma Sucha.
Ma Sucha. Right. Yeah. And Krishna talks about ahankar also in many places in Bhagavad Gita. Right. And so, yeah, we'll continue to talk. When I teach you Bhagavad Gita, we are coming to false ego section in the 3rd chapter. So we'll talk more about this false ego there. But this is just the beginning, and it's good for you to know from where it starts, right? How it comes into being.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Just one
Mataji.
question. Just a thought. I mean, again, if it's possible and if it's okay with you and everyone, like just for matter of continuation. Again, it's big if, because it has to be okay for you. Like you initiate the call and we just read the translation and the purport, and we don't discuss anything, but we just read just for no.
Because I'll tell you, Simi, because even if we read the translation and purport, the whole hour goes in her explanation of the purport, right? And then what
Yeah.
we just get by reading the translation and purport.
I'm just saying so that we are still with each other. That's all.
Mataji, today's is what? What chapter today?
Today was
It's Brahma Samhita. It's not
Brahma Samhita,
Bhagavad Gita.
5.6. Yeah. Okay.
5.16.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have to leave. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So do I.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you
And I'll
very
talk to
much.
some
Thank
other
you
you.
very much, Mataji,
Thank you
for
so much,
taking this
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
between your words.
Thank you so much.
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.
Gaur Premanande Hari
Hari Hari Bol.